them over here. There's a bunch of people.
You gonna take a picture of me?
Selfies aren't allowed.
Is that Eminem?
No, it's so things are erratically changing.
That's scary.
Spirit boxes. You got anything
He
else?
told you what I
This grace?
That's great,
You
yeah.
got anything else? Anything coming up out of yours?
I heard something, it sounded like John a little bit ago, and then it said, like it flat out said things are erratic. That's funny.
Those are those clear ones that you actually want. Alright.
Things are erratically changing.
That doesn't make me feel good.
You said you thought you heard John?
Yeah.
That was Calico Jack's real name. It was John Rackham.
Oh my god.
Alright. John, you got nothing else out of yours? Alright, everybody, come on over
To the wall. To the window. To the wall. I hope he's not listening to this, because I don't know what's been coming out of my mouth. What is that noise? Oh.
Alright, so, I did get the word fast that was showing up on the word list. Paulie's going to confirm, like to me, I think of Blackbeard and I automatically think Ochre Cove, North Carolina. I guess he's very alleged to live in Bath, North Carolina. So again, we did have that, and some of the letters that showed up on Amy's Envoy, the Ouija board, were BLK and another B. So again, I wouldn't expect a full Blackbeard to come out of that because the man's name was Edward Teach. So that would be much easier to spell one or two of those, or both of those, versus a whole Blackbeard coming across. So I'll kind of see what's going on with the rest of your devices when I'm going through your data. The name George was heard. I don't have any relevance to that. But we did have, obviously, Miss Grace showed up, so that kind of goes with the Holy Grail. We're next to, another religious term of grace. And then the name John was heard, which is Calico Jack's real name, John Rackham. So let me give you the quick answers to the two easy questions that I gave you.
I'm getting it.
So normally with these, you can usually tell right away. A lot of things will come up very specific. So John will give us a red on his device just because her hair color was red. We'll hear Anne, we'll hear the parents' names really, really fast. So the fact that you guys weren't giving me those was a matter of okay, it's probably a dead night for us, no pun intended, or was it intended? So Anne Bonny, one of the few pictures you can find of her with a shirt on, by the way. The names of her parents were William Cormack and Mary Brennan. So again, none of you were expecting a second Mary, because remember the first Mary came off the ship. That was the friend/lover. So Mary Reed was the friend. Mary Brennan was the mother. So again, William Cormack, William and Mary will often show up here. I also like to show you what Calico Jack looked like, because again, this is the real person that they based your Disney character off of. But I also like to tell you why they named him that. Calico Jack, because his jackets that he wore came from the British captains that he killed. So again, Calico Jack, fancy jacket. So again, fancy threads, so to speak. The name of his ship was the Kingston. So I do not expect Kingston to come through some of your spirit boxes that use strictly radio stations. However, we're using other devices where the word Kingston can pop up. So John's device, we've had some pretty close things to pop up with that on a disembodied voice. But I will also tell you the second night I was using yours, because that's only about 6 months old on the tour, somebody's handing it back to me, and we all heard the term pirate, because they were a very quiet group, just like you guys. And luckily for us, we had it standing next to the thermal imaging camera, and the audio came straight through there. So it wasn't like the Pittsburgh Pirates are winning. It was more like pirate, and that was the end of it. So again, we never know what we're going to actually find in this space, but I'm going to call this actually pretty light. When I go through your data, obviously I kind of know the timestamps of the way things go, even though I don't time things. That's why I do it first thing in the morning, so everything's fresh on the brain, and why I take lots and lots of notes. But again, things about Blackbeard I'll be diving into for sure, just based on the amount of letters that we got out of this, and the term bath that showed up on the word list. But how many words did we actually get tonight out of your word list? It'll tell you at the bottom of the other page.
79.
79, so that's about an average amount. Again, I don't time this, I just kind of wait to see what's going to pop up out of your devices. So let me stop your audio. That'll kind of give me a gist of how much data you're going to get back tomorrow. So this is an hour and 42 minutes. So that is definitely going to be closer to, setting it all up. So about 6.5 to 7 hours worth of data kind of coming through. Now, when I'm going through that, there's also a field guide that I wrote up for you guys to be able to go through each piece of media in case you get stuck on something. This spirit box recording stuff is not easy to do. So again, I left a field guide that shows you how to go through each piece of media. There's a link at the top of your data set. What's the date today? So today's the 6th. Now, we're at the beginning of the month. That's kind of bad news for you, is because I always separate everything by month. So the next new tour is going to go at the top, and then it's going to keep going. And you're going to see that each tour has a lot of data that goes through it. Try to get to your data in the next couple of days so you can download it. And we don't have to keep scrolling through my website trying to find your data. I make everything downloadable. All your videos go to YouTube. Your audio pieces are all MP3s. And then, of course, all of my notes you can copy and paste into Word documents, and it'll bring the links with it. So that way you guys have your points of reference along with that. Looking at what we worked on tonight, this is slightly less than average of what I normally see. So again, kind of keep that in perspective. I'm always honest with you guys because I'm not a TV show host. So again, it's all about where's the history, but sometimes in the morning when I'm going through it, it exceeds what we actually caught, because we may have struggled with the recording or something came up on the video. So we'll kind of see what kind of pops up out of that. As I collect your devices, which all of you with the regular where I get to take a break from the backpack. You guys got a chance to see how big the other ghost tours can be. We ran into that big one in Lodge Alley and obviously a couple out here, so that's why I like to just stay out of their way. What do we got on your spirit boxes? Anything going
I got
on?
Holy Grail when we walked over here.
So we start getting religious terms like the minute we leave Lodge Alley, so I'm not surprised by that one.
I started hearing religious songs.
Songs? So like church songs or like just Christian songs?
Like Christian songs.
Okay.
I can only imagine.
Okay.
Anybody else hear anything? Letters
Little
going?
hairstyles as it was.
Oh, yes.
Everybody hears hairstyles.
I got N.
As they
N?
should.
Keep that one going. Let me know what else you get with the letter N. That is actually one of the initials of what I caught here just the other night. So, explain more if it pops up. How about that? Is that fair? See how that goes. Welcome to the Powder Magazine. So we're going to be discussing this little building first before we get into our crazy pirate story, and now it explains why we're actually here. This building, those are not crosses, by the way, those are earthquake bolts. If you're unfamiliar with those, they're basically turnbuckles. So if we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886 that I mentioned earlier, you can turn the turnbuckles and it's supposed to straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. So again, the reason I bring it up is because these are the first set of earthquake bolts that we actually put in Charleston, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. So it was finished in 1713. We are here because this building is a familiar to Anne Bonny at the same time frame of when she was coming to Charleston and started her pirate career. So that's exactly why we're here. Now, let's kind of get going with that. This building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? 10 years, small building? Not at all. So, in the middle of its construction is where the story begins, 1708. So follow me, there's a couple of twists. 1708, a young lady moves here by the name of Anne Cormack. She moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Is everybody with me so far? The three of them are running away from his wife. So how mad was she that they had to leave Ireland to come here in 1708 by boat, just saying. But they land in Georgetown, just north of here. That's between us and Myrtle Beach, for those of you that are not from here. Dad buys a plantation in the Georgetown area, but Mom died pretty quickly, which means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. Now, back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. So again, yeah, I'm giving you that mentality of this young lady through the rest of the story. We're going to fast forward. The building's done in 1713, but pirates were coming through town in 1715. Anne's going to fall in love because she's trying to find her freedom, just like a man. First guy she falls in love with, yes, I said first because we're going to go through a handful of them. They all mean something. James Bonny. You already see where this one's going, right? Dad doesn't approve. Filthy pirates. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack is now Anne Bonny. However, James Bonny is not the Captain Jack Sparrow she was hoping for. This guy is a privateer, meaning he's a spy for the British, aka a coward. So, a few years later, she falls in love again. The guy's name is John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. This is the real Captain Jack Sparrow that they based the character off of, just so everybody kind of has that mentality. Jack has his own ship and wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on a pirate ship. Does anybody know why? Nobody knows why? You can't put a girl on a pirate ship? They're bad luck. You can't put all those men on there? Yeah, that's why there's no females on there. So, he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, it's a man's world, I'm a pirate now, let's go. Let's put two and two together. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female, and they're going to vote Jack off the ship. So, with that said, because she's pregnant, he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby over here. These are friends of mine. They'll help you. Come back later. We'll figure it out then. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't care anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty angry. He just captured another pirate crew that's down below deck, and she's going to go flirting with that pirate crew because that's what Anne does. She wants to make him even more mad. So she goes down below deck, and the guy she's flirting with, yes, we're on guy number 3, turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females dressed like males on the same ship. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers. We're never going to know for sure. And the British find out where they are. They send a fleet of ships to come take down one measly pirate ship. And Anne and Mary are the only pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks, probably because they don't know how to use the cannon jet. So as 2 ladies are trying to take on this fleet of ships, they're going to get arrested because they're not going to be able to do it. And as they're being arrested, she looks at her captain, her beau, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." Yeah, the word dog shows up here quite often. The judge, his name is Nicholas, just like me, Nicholas Laws. So if we get a name Nick on there, that's why I'm actually waiting for another N, because there's 3 different Nicks that could be relevant to. We'll talk about it if the other initial pops up. But he wants to see the 2 men who fought back so valiantly on their own. He doesn't know that they're female, basically, and he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't come up and fight. So the 2 ladies go in front. They reveal their gender, hoping to actually save themselves. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them because they're pirates. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they said, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging. Dad is still here in the Charleston area. He bails out Ann. He brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed, and has 4 kids, dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt ending. As far as Mary Reed goes, she died a year later in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Most articles will tell you that was fever, but it's probably scurvious and bumpy and gross. Now, as far as you spirit boxes, because there is a lot of you here, I only left out 2 questions on purpose, just because you guys should know what you're doing by now as far as questioning. And again, we're dealing with as much factual data as I can about pirate lore, which means it can't all be factual. The name of Anne Bonny's parents I left out. That's the father and the mistress. And I also left out the name of Calico Jack's ship. So, you can ask those 2 questions. You can also ask anything else you want to. So if you want to have a blast with it and try to get us some answers to plug some holes in the story, let's see what pops up. As far as your device, John, I love to ask Anne Bonny what her hair color is to see if she'll show me with your color scheme that you have going across the top there. So you're definitely going to use that here. As far as the 2 EMF meters, the closer you get to these corners, you're going to get readings based on electrical poles. Don't get excited. Most of those readings are going to be back here if you're going to get anything. We normally don't get numbers. This is all about photographs. Those of you with the 3 different cameras, again with you, you can go to the front if you want. The only thing I ask is that you don't interrupt the other tours. If somebody's there telling some piece of history here, wait till they move, go in, get a few minutes of footage, and we'll see what we can capture on those cameras while you're up there. Otherwise, we're going to hang out back here. The rest of you, if you want to see the front of the powder magazine, you can follow those camera people if you'd like, but they're completely up to you. Again, we're going to know within the first 5 minutes if there's something actually going on here or not. But I'm going to work with Amy first because I want to test that guy out over here and take a look at the letter she's been getting. So let's spread out in this space and let's have some fun on our last stop. Let's see what we can get going on. Amy, let me see that thing.
Dude, I'm asking what Jack's ship is called. What was Jack's ship? What should I say? What's the name of Jack's ship?
Jack or something. Shit.
Who wrote it? Oh.
What is
I
Jack?
was just saying.
Jack, what is it? Jack of something? I had a boring one.
What was the name of Jack's ship?
What did he say? How do you not know? What was his name? Jack? Jack. Oh, I want to say Olac, but it's not Olac. Jack.
I thought it was something with an S.
John? Is that John?
Sounded like John.
I got Miss Grace. You know who named Chris?
You sound like mine?
Huh?
You sound like mine.
Cockroach!
That's a palmetto bug.
Oh, look at it flies. That's why it's palmetto bug. It's a cockroach that flies, basically.
Those of you with video cameras, if you want to very discreetly film the alley behind you, and looks like you guys are actually both in a perfect position. I say discreetly because other tours will actually be cutting through there, and they did not pay to get filmed what you guys did. So again, this is a pretty popular ghost tour stop. So where are we? This is Philadelphia Alley. This is a lot of tours like to come down here. If it's not a staple, it should be. But it used to be called Jewelers Alley. This is where some of the duels used to occur in the city of Charleston. Yeah, so
I told you.
Has a lot of history down here, but we all tell the same story of which specific duel occurred down here because we can prove it. And the other piece of that is I'm going to tell you this story a lot differently than another tour, just because you're not on a campy kind of ghost tour. You're ghost hunting. You need a little bit different details of what actually went on down here. So here's how this goes. The doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after Amanda's money, and the coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston, but somebody was walking by and saw what was going on. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I stopped on Ralph because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. RI shows up here a lot before we got the device that Amy's using. So again, just depends on which character it belongs to. Secondary clue. That's the gist. We've been doing this for about an hour and a half or so. But anyway, Ralph tells the doctor, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy. He's going to try to take all your money and kill you. But I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there and rent a room and you'll be good to go. The doctor takes him up on the offer to become friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving the point that he doesn't need Amanda's money. So Amanda's going to be moving down soon. Dr. Ladd becomes known as the whistling doctor. Every haunted city you're going to visit in the future will have a cliched whistling ghost. It's a guarantee. Everyone has one. So with that, we actually have proof of this one. Now, with that said, him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money than Ralph because of his medical practice. So they talk about these plays on the way home. One night they go see Richard III, and they're arguing over the new actors that are in town. The doctor's actually fantastic. Ralph is not so much. It gets even more heated when Ralph starts assaulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island and go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He puts an ad in the newspaper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Dr. Ladd sees the ad in the paper, obviously it was a disgraceful type thing, and he rebuttals with, let's go to Jewelers Alley, somebody's going to die. Let's just settle this. So they come down and take their 10 cases, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage of bravery to took his fight, which is often what happens in a duel, by the way. Ralph has his one shot. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. The doctor doesn't die. He drops to the ground where his friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he died 10 days later after receiving medical treatment. You have to remember he's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed out this bullet himself. So, the campfire ghost story part of this is that as you walk through the alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. I used to take my tours all the way through there. I know all about the voice recorder because even before we started using the earbuds for the spirit boxes. So, we do have some whistles that we can't debunk, but if you're going to try this on your own with voice recorders on your phone, keep in mind anybody that's a local knows the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. We all do it. So I do it every single night when we're done, because we're going to end there, and my garage is right there. So I have to throw a whistle every time I walk by, especially if you're going to get down there. So let's get into why I've been booted out and why I can't take you down there. This alley didn't always come all the way through. So that means the bricks on the other side are older than the bricks that we're looking at on this side. I used to take my teams all the way down there because those bricks are sun-dried bricks from the slave children. And full handprint fingerprint swipes in those bricks at the end. Now, I'm sure you guys all picked up that I'm all about the history, right? So it wasn't a matter of like, hey, let's go check out this brick. It was a matter of like, everybody who can see it because it just shows how far we've come, away from slavery. Now, everybody wants to try to get a reading from that damn brick. You're not going to get one because that kid is not staring at that brick in the afterlife. November 26th of 2020, my entire team of 10 huddled around that brick waiting for something to happen with their devices. It's outside a gentleman's dining room window of this beautiful mansion. He's not very happy with me. He came out screaming. My daughter was on the tour that night, thought it was great. His dad's getting yelled at, and we moved on. I got a phone call 2 days later on November 28th because the 27th was Thanksgiving. I didn't have a tour. So the 28th, I got a phone call asking me to go down halfway like everybody else and to reroute my tour. So I decided it's not fair for U10 to be investigating around 20 to 60. It's a small space. So I decided to reroute and tell this crazy pirate story that I didn't even believe in. So before we left the space on November 28th, I told my team I didn't believe the story, but I would tell them what I know and let's see what happens with their devices. Before we left, somebody hears the name Dan on a spirit box. I did not tell them we were going to be investigating the female pirate and Bonnie. So I was like, all right, maybe there is something going on. I get up there, I told what a little bit I did know about pirates, and something else here is number 300. So I have no idea what that means either until I do the research the next day. We were there on November 28th, 2020, and Bonnie's trial of piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So I keep taking you guys back up there in hopes that we're going to be able to capture more, but I will tell you that it is a hit or miss location. We're either going to get a lot or we're going to get nothing. It's one of those crazy spaces where you just never know. Worst case scenario is you learn a shit ton about pirates, because I've read more books about pirates since that night than I ever wanted to. I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate guy, but I've read quite a bit about pirates to be able to put some factual lore to what we're about to go through. So we are going to head up to the Powder Magazine at this point. Before we leave, do we have anything on our list? Because you're pretty much the only one watching. Actress. So they were arguing over an actress in the movie. So weak term, but we're going to take it. Again, we're going to see if something else pops up with that. Maybe we'll get back to commercial play that was originally the third. So we'll see if anything like that wants to pop up. Has anybody else been listening to the spirit boxes with the earbuds? Yeah, I know. With this space, it's weird because we're in close proximity. Show me anything on yours? Okay. All right. Any letters that we need?
C-O-K-P-K-K.
C-O-K-P-K-K. You had Coke, didn't you? What did you have? Coke. Coke.
C-O-K-P-K-K.
Wow, that's a lot. A lot of these letters in some case. All right, let's go learn about pirates. Let's go see what we can do up here. And you're gonna, again, with your camera, you can basically point it down if you want to. The next space is a residual ghost. Here's how this is actually gonna go down. It's about 3 blocks away. We're going to Lodge Alley. We're gonna be cutting through a lot of foot traffic because it's Saturday night. So kind of keep that in mind. Spirit boxes, I want you all listening for names or watching for names. So those of you that have open air spirit boxes, people are just going to look at you funny because it looks like you're listening to white noise. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. You joined the weird tour group, just so you know. So again, listening for names, I'm not going to tell you what gender and no more tricks, I promise. The rest of you, those of you with video cameras, we're not going to be recording on East Bay Street. We'll start recording again when you see cobblestone. When you see me take a right, follow me down the alley, turn your video cameras on. Let's see, as far as the EMF detectors, so that would be turn your white button off, and where are we at? Who has it? Oh, your colors, ignore them. So your numbers and your colors, you can ignore them completely because of the parking meters. The electrical lines for those are underneath the sidewalks and strong enough to make your devices go off. So again, that's how this is actually going to go for the next, a few minutes until we get up to Lodge Alley. Any more questions about the Pinkies that I might be able to answer? Did I miss anything? Did you guys go rogue with your questions? Wow, you guys are like a really quiet group. I know it's Saturday, but you guys are probably all walking around. All right, let's head up to Lodge Alley. Let's go see what we can capture.
Glad I took Charleston. Well, I have to take Charleston history in 8th grade, but I knew all about this.
I took U.S. history and I failed the AP test.
Ew.
I got a 1.
He doesn't get off of work. Chick-fil-A closes at 10. He doesn't get off of work at 11:30.
Oh, dang.
You know how mad I would be? Why the heck does it take that long? He gets free blue.
I mean,
but I think he's not a manager, but I also think he's really high up.
probably.
Because he has the blue shirts. And then he had a mic in his ear.
Well, then maybe he's like a president or something.
No, he hands out food. Obviously.
Oh, you're right.
But he'll snap me like sitting in like the room drinking. And I was like, dang, must be nice. Not drinking alcohol, like drinking that Chick-fil-A. Soda.
Think he'd be doing alcohol on the phone?
Heck no, he would get fired.
Exactly.
I know you've been admitted. And why isn't it?
Like, your mom asked. I was literally looking.
I know. Every time
like,
she asks his age, I'm like,
I don't know. Yeah, wait till you find out. I'll tell you that he's out of high school. He's never going back.
Yeah. Cold and be like,
yeah, no. Every time she asks, I'm like,
He's
Yeah, I'm like, please don't ask that question. I was like, I don't know. We even talked. BS.
Literally every time I get asked that question, it's like,
oh my gosh, my hair is just not living. Hold on. I can't. Look, he's gonna kick my butt.
who? What did you say?
Put his shirt on. Oh, he's yelling at me.
Wow, this stuff. That's good.
I can only just say thank you very much with like 2 exclamation points. So, in the car, you know, I kept looking up that wreck. Which you didn't go to a JV game. One of the JV players got into a wreck, and it's like horrible. And there's, well, you wouldn't know, but they were all JV baseball players, and they got in a horrible wreck, and they're all like in critical condition. But one of them, his name's Ethan. I met the nicest person I ever knew. Yeah. It's horrible. Like, which, did you see the car?
I'll make sure everybody gets across. Might have to wait a few minutes. We lost some folks. We were on such a good pace.
But
Losers.
look,
Oh my god. Losers, you got stuck.
my arms hurt.
Just hold it.
I am such a hypocrite. No, such a hypocrite.
I know.
I cannot spell with one. I cannot type with one.
I can.
Such a hypocrite.
I guess she's done teaching.
Excuse me.
Oh, let's go to ice cream.
We're not there yet.
When did you want to sit and chat? You'd be there for 30 minutes.
I don't know, but I have 2. We're going to take it. So the first wife, her name was Eliza Lamb Pinckney. So Lamb and Lucas were the 2 maiden names that started with the letter L. Just so everybody kind of has that thought. As far as the mansion, like I said, it did catch fire. This is the only photograph we have of the mansion. This is the Great Fire Damage of 1861. This is exactly where you're standing right now. Again, kind of a crazy thing. Here's where the number 12 comes into play. This happened on December 11th of 1861. At times, we'll hear the term fire, just like John did, and we'll have the full dates of 12/11/61 all in the same evening. So again, just depends on who's here and who wants to chit-chat about it. Again, we got the number 12. I'll obviously be looking for 11 and 61 as I'm going through your spirit box and your regular videos. So kind of keep that in mind. Whenever you guys would take another tours, by the way, they're all going to tell you about a great fire of whatever year it happened. This is one of the biggest fires we actually ever endured. We are standing on the green dots on the right-hand side of this map. The orange is obviously the fire. This is $5 to $9 million worth of damage in 1861. This is a lot of damage. Just so you know, what do I know that translates to today? I have no idea, because inflation changed this morning again, I'm sure. So, kind of keep that in mind. But I always like to show you at least how big the fire was. The children, who had the questions about the kids? So, there were 4 children grand total. Charles, we already know about, he was signer of the Constitution. The next one was Thomas. He fought in the Revolutionary War battle, and he was actually shot in his left leg, probably near his kneecap. So it's a probably. I don't have a definitive answer on that, but it does show up here quite often enough for me to be able to say it's a good probably. Can't find the exact definition. He was captured by the British after he was shot in the left leg, and when he was released, he was left on a cane the rest of his days. So we didn't have the name Thomas show up or any other clue other than the word knee that showed up on the word list. So I'll be diving into that if there's anything else to go along with it. The next child is the one I asked you all not to poke the bear with. This is baby George. You can probably already see where this one's going based on his name. Baby George does not have a grave. He does not have a headstone. The reason behind that is it's a great possibility that they would have mummified this child and kept him right here in the home, waiting for mom to pass away so he could be buried with his mother. It's a great possibility. You can't Google mummied baby and not expect a phone call from the government. So again, I can't prove that theory, but it is a great one because it did happen quite often during colonial times. The last child, her name was Harriet. The only daughter, married Daniel Ory. Myrtle Beach is in Ory County. That should give you an idea of where she lived. What do you have now?
Well, I got FH and then KHE.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about Ory, which starts with an H. But it wouldn't have been a 2.5-hour car ride for Eliza to go see her daughter. Lots of letter writing. In the event Harriet shows up here, it's lots of terms like quill, ink, paper, anything dealing with letter writing. So it's very seldom that we actually hear from Harriet, but when we do, that's usually the case. Harriet's death. Jamie, that was yours, right? You were asking about how she died and how old she was?
No, I asked about Eliza.
Right, how she died. Right.
Yes.
So, Eliza died at the age of 70. First off, I'd like to point out that that's a long time to be living during colonial times, for a woman, especially. That was in 1793. So the number 93 often shows up here, just so everybody knows. With that said, she was going to Philadelphia, getting treatments for whatever they thought she had. It turned out to be breast cancer. We didn't know what breast cancer was completely yet in 1793, so we're going based off of our medical
it's
records
going like
today.
all the way up now.
Move the camera.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. It happens. So, she died in Philadelphia. She's buried in Philadelphia. That should ask two questions in the back of all of your brains. Baby George. If my theory is true, they would have transported that mummified baby all the way to Philadelphia by horse and carriage from this space to be buried with his mother, if it's true. The second question is, if she's buried up there, why are we here? And I don't actually take you to cemeteries. You don't get a whole lot of activity in actual cemeteries, just so you know. None of you are going to hang out where you're buried when you're gone. You're going to go to your mansions 400 miles away.
Yeah.
So again, that's why we come to the spaces that we do, because that's where the legitimate paranormal activity actually occurs. Who wants to take a stab in the dark at the president that was the pallbearer at her funeral? Where's my history buff? Anybody? Going once? 1793? Going twice?
George Washington. But
Washington,
George
at his own request, wanted to pay homage to Eliza based on her indigo that helped get our country started. So that was the whole reason behind it. Here's the funny thing about why none of you could answer correctly. When we got here, I told you all I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse. I do that on purpose, putting George Washington subliminally in the back of all of your brains. And then you guys go out and investigate, and then when you come back, that's the only question I give back to you to see who can actually give me the answer. You all passed with a fail because none of you are subject to subliminal messaging. I do that on purpose, so that way I know what kind of people I'm working with. So some of you are grinning like, yeah, that's actually pretty clever, and the other ones are like, man, that dirty bastard just tricked me. So it's the only one I do. The fact that you all passed with a fail is a good thing. This space is an intelligent ghost. We ask questions, we get answers. The next space is not that way. By the way, those of you with video cameras, go ahead and stop your videos. You can kind of give your hands a break. I'm sorry, I meant to tell you that.
Did you get anything?
Mine's been jumping to the middle one.
The whole time?
Like, doing that.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for. I think I'm just recording.
Okay, I'll take one. How about I take one out of y'all?
It just said, are you something? Like, it said, are you, and then I could not hear anything else.
Turn around.
Y'all scoot a little bit closer.
Can we make a scared face?
Yeah. Ready? 1.
Or is it, wait, are we being serious?
Are you up? No. Alright, ready? 1, 2, 3.
There's this talking. I know.
Cute.
I don't think a boring one. Go tell him. He's right over there. You got a boring one. I just filmed.
Just take pictures.
I am.
Keep taking them.
I am. I gotta take pictures of people's cars.
I'm scared.
He told me to like stay with one of y'all, so like. I mean, he just said like. What was I saying?
I don't know. It's just a whip. Oh, look at that.
Are you remembering all this? See if you can tell.
I can't make out anything.
I don't know. I want to go home. And then can we set up at church?
The only word I could make out was old.
He said, "Are you?"
Yeah, it said,
Are you asking questions?
I
Keep
did.
asking.
All I've been asking is what happened to the mansion.
Well, keep asking. Go over here. Go left. Ask again. Ask again.
What happened to the mansion? This is so awkward.
What did he say?
I couldn't hear it. It was just music. So are you looking for something?
Ask about the mansion again.
Everything's gonna be. It said something.
What did it say? Look, when I point this way, look, there's like a speck.
Where?
Up
Oh, I
top.
see it.
But then it goes away, watch.
Alright, let me see.
Did you get anything?
Like it's saying stuff, but like it's too like muffled or too fast to hear anything.
Jamie's screaming at her.
Where's the other? Oh, you have it.
Yes,
That's what I was looking for. Anything coming out of there?
that.
Anything other than
It's like
that?
muffled, and then I got like old like tones. Yeah.
John, you got anything else coming up before you've been the most eager? Not really.
I asked the same question.
Okay.
Well, she asked where she was buried. I said, "What's it?"
Did it?
Hey.
One more quick round robin, and then I put everybody to the back. You guys are still going to get straight
What you say? That you?
About to sing the song.
Huh?
About to sing the song.
What else? Yo, like this shit is like serious. Like I'm really scared. Like we have like a whole like Ouija board thing, and we're getting letters and like talking. Right now we're talking. Do y'all remember like Eliza Pinckney, that Planet of the Indigo? Yeah, right now we're like where their mansion is, and we've gotten like fire and old. It's pretty scary. I got the easy job though. I'm just filming, but I'm very scared.
Come on, you three. Come on back. Get you guys off the line. All the way to Warren? Right up.
Wait, what'd she get?
Nikes.
It smells good.
No, don't do that.
The most common things we have, because that's the only address that so Big John actually heard the name John. We're still close to Big John's, so again, things do kind of do a bleed over from time to time. This is one of those spaces where we do get things from Big John's back and forth. I will tell you that the word kneecap, you had the word knee on your word list, is somewhat relevant to this location, so I'm going to get into that here in just a moment. John also heard the word fire. This place did catch fire in 1861. I'm going to go over that in just a second. We also had the number 12 show up, so that is relevant to the fire. So again, they're vague stretches at this point. We also have EL that showed up when we got here, so it was EUL, and then later on she had a CA. So the only thing we're missing out of Eliza's name is I. So again, it's really a vague stretch because I haven't had anything come out of that device in the week that I've had it other than a set of initials at another spot that I normally take those to. So let's get into the answers. So look, we had an 8.9. Let me explain what these readings mean before I really deep dive into
They just did a 14.8.
14.8. So remind me to write that one down as we're walking out. So the readings that we have coming out of these EMF detectors, let me use a point of reference in your house. So behind your TV, you have a bunch of wires. If you're to put one of these devices back there, it's going to go all the way from 40 to 60 milligauss if you're using Little John's device. So that's about an average. We had a 14.8 in a space with no electricity. So kind of take that for what it is. That is still a low reading for this space. We normally average about 18 to 22 milligauss in here. But I will also tell you that your microwave running on high is about 150 to 170 if you're just standing next to it with the door shut with that device. The highest I've ever seen Little John's device go has been in this space at 214 milligauss. Those are dangerous levels. Needless to say, the guy with seizures, I got us the hell out of here. Like, it was a pretty fast drop. Like, we left. I told them that all the answers to the space later on. So again, it's not safe for me to stay there at that point. So we just left. Like, that was a pretty big deal. I've also seen it go all the way up to 197 milligauss in another space that was in St. Augustine, Florida. FH at the same time? That's weird. You must be standing on something that's giving you a lot of EMF readings. Interesting. but I like to explain what those readings mean because we're going to be using those devices at the next base for sure, testing a few different theories. So, Eliza, first thing I always like to do when I break out the tablet is kind of give you guys the mugshot of the person that we're dealing with, that we're trying to hunt down. I will go around the room whenever I break out the tablet, that way you guys don't have to huddle around, but this is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. So, what I was so excited about that UL earlier that came out of the envoy was that we had UL show up after E, so it was EUL. So I was waiting for CAS to show up in some kind of anagrammic format. This is the second wife, the one we discussed, that planted the indigo. She was 22 when she married Charles. He was 45. We'll see what else pops up with it. So, spirit boxes. This space, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. So I'm going to withhold information on purpose, and your spirit boxes are going to give you answers to the questions that I'll kind of put out there after I give you the history. So what is this place? It's just a parking lot, right? But it used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across. And we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So, I always like to give you the layout. Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses. Do you guys see why we look for those secondary clues now? We need to know which Chuck we're chatting with if one decides he wants to come through. However, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics, so we're not going to talk about them. So, we're going to talk about Eliza with the initial E. So we're going to see how else this is going to go with the rest of your letters. So when did E show up, by the way? Was it across the street, or was it once we entered the space?
We were coming in this space.
Coming into the space.
It came E, U, and now I have L.
Hang on to that L. E, U, and L are good. Okay, so Eliza married Charles at a young age. I'm not going to tell you what that age is, but it's not going to be like the colonial times that she came from. It's going to be according to today's standards. If you'll ask her once we separate how old she was when she was married, you're not going to hear numbers like 12 and 14, just so everybody kind of has that in the back of their minds. But the reason I bring this up is because Charles, her husband, was over double her age when they married. So it's a pretty big age gap back in colonial times, pretty big age gap now. Yep. So just putting that out there. Now, she married Charles because her father was over in England, and he thought he was dying. And he's trying to bring all of his children home one last time. She didn't think he was dying, so she got married. 1744. You don't get married in 1744 for a green card or citizenship. She married this guy out of love, and it is a true love story. But she was right. Dad got better. He started sending her gifts. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least an hour. Some of you live here. You've seen the word indigo here somewhere. I guarantee it. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. So some of you actually have it on tonight. So it's actually nice to have more than one example. Good deal. So when she got these seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot here. So when she had it figured it out, she moves it to a plantation south of here, and then she actually calls her father up and says, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. So now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times, something absolutely unheard of. So that's Eliza's business. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why most of you are here. Let's kind of go right down the road with spirit boxes. So with your particular spirit box, the mansion's not here anymore, obviously. You can ask what happened to it. You can get an answer. When did that happen? We're looking for obviously a specific date. So that's the way that one's going to go. Jamie, you're going to go after Eliza's death. So ask anything you want to. How old she was when she died, what she died from, where she's buried, and which president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So again, these are answers you're going to get out of those DJs and song lyrics.
Okay.
Holly, your spirit box has a pretty large dictionary in there, but I've seen both of these answers actually pop up in the past. The Eliza we just talked about was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. I know, kind of smart, very stupid, depends on how you look at it. But in the same year, the first wife Eliza dies, the second wife he marries 5 months later. They both have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. Let's figure out which Eliza we're dealing with by asking her maiden name, and hopefully it'll actually pop up. That's the reason why I'm excited about the EL that showed up on Amy's device. So again, I know we have that U in the middle of it, but again, somewhat relevant. We're going to see how this actually goes. Shelby, the children. I want you to ask how many children she had and what their names are, but that's it. If we poke the bear with the children, all activity will stop. And nobody's given me any EMF readings yet, so Where's the other one? You have. I'm sorry. Have you seen any colors yet at all? Nothing. And any numbers come up out of yours? So if we did have anything, those would pretty much stop, just so you know. So names and how many, and then leave it alone. Amy, I'm going to have you just grab whatever questions you want to out of this, just because this is literally a brand new device that I'm starting to work with, and I want to see what kind of pops up with it.
EULSRYQ.
It's a lot of letters. It's a lot.
And that's just sitting here.
Yeah. I like the EL, obviously, because Eliza and her maiden name started with the letter L.
When you said slaves, the S popped up.
But we don't have a full spelling. What other letters do you have there?
RYQ.
I got nothing on that. Again, this literally this device is brand new to the market. Like, it's only like 2 months old. I've had it a week. So they just designed this, and it's only been out for about 2 months. So again, there's a lot of like speculation with this particular device. I'm going to have you go after, John, what happened to the mansion as well, just because it's only giving us very 1 to 2 syllable type terms. So what happened to the mansion, and when did that actually happen? So hopefully we can get some answers out of it and kind of take things from there. If you stay, obviously, why am I losing your name now?
Maddie.
Maddie. Well, it's because you moved around on me. That's
It is.
why. So again, try to stick with somebody with a camera, so that way, because yours doesn't record, so that way if you miss something, it shows up on the audio of the video, if that makes sense to everybody. So I do have to work with John Boy over here to show him how to use that motion sensor, because we're going to be using it in this particular location. We are going to spread out in here. Video cameras, nice slow movements, not in between vehicles. Again, if somebody's walking by, go the opposite way. We don't want to be bloggers out here. I will be bouncing around with all of you to kind of see what's going on with your devices and taking some notes. So again, depending on what goes on in here, we'll be here from anywhere between like 5 to 10 minutes investigating the space. So again, these are little mini investigations throughout the entire evening. So, John, you're going to stick with me. What do you got?
At 3.9.
3.9, so it's a good start.
2.8.
So we're going to escalate it from 3.9. So I'll break down 2.8 and 3.9. Don't give me anything below 3.9 at this point. We're going to keep it going up. And I'll explain what those numbers mean before we leave the space. And yes, I will give you all the answers before we leave the area as well. So as I start bouncing around, you'll see me taking notes, and then I'll gather us all up back here again to kind of do a quick recap, give you guys what we actually have. We have colors now.
It jumps.
How high?
It's like
It was going to the.
I saw it.
the orange. Like I saw this one. Yeah.
I had the colors memorized as far as the measurements, so I already saw which colors were coming up. So hopefully it'll go up much higher
And
than
then
that.
what do you want me to do with this? Just like anything?
Tons and tons of pictures. So when it shuts off, the power button is right next to the shoot button.
Just like anything?
Anything. Selfies will be deleted, just so you know.
Oh.
I know. All right, let's spread out. John, you're going to stick with me.
QQ.
QQ, double Q. Still got nothing. Yeah, watch out for moving vehicles. So, all right, John, let me show you how to use that motion sensor. Everybody else, let's get those spirit boxes cranked up and let's see what we can find in here.
Ask the questions aloud,
Okay.
I've learned all of this.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I've learned all of this. Like, I know all
hearing
these
stuff.
stories. I'm supposed to stick with, like, John.
Where's this talking?
No, it's a song.
I know.
Is it Harris?
Oh, I just like whispering, wasn't it?
Eliza, I've learned all of this. And Charleston history class, Smith.
Wait, playing stuff?
Yo, what,
Did you just hear that? I was like,
what am I supposed to be looking for?
we got the same questions.
Riley, stop playing around. Ask the questions. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Maddie, it just said old. It just
Tell him. Tell him when he comes back. Are you asking questions?
I didn't. I don't got
Yeah, but keep asking. Yo.
Sorry.
Somebody put Kate Bush on because I'm all nervous.
All right.
on the volume.
So let's talk about why we started here. I'm going to take a drink of water because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to keep me on my toes all night long. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Gonna come from, gonna come from this direction.
So this place used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. So he played for the 1947 New York Giants. Whenever I'm giving you the history of a location, I will always slow down on specific keywords for all of the spirit boxes that we're using out here in communication devices. The keywords here are going to be 47, New York, Giants, anything relatable to a bar, and the name John, obviously. But here's why the place is haunted. John used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, two guys came in, and they weren't old enough to drink, so he had the bartender throw them out, and they leave pretty angry. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, he slams down his beer, and he just goes over and starts beating the heck out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots went off. John got shot in the neck, but the bullet grazed him and went behind him in the wall.
But it torn.
John gets up after being the only one that's been shot, by the way, and he goes back to the bar and tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor, and ambulance. Now, normally if I tell you a building is haunted, you normally think of some kind of tragic death that occurred there. It's not the case in this particular location. What's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. So, I say allegedly because this new renovation of Big John's may have filled it in. So that means even if they did, Big John's blood is still inside the building. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. This is kind of your heated warning. We, fingers crossed, will be dealing with paranormal activity tonight. I never know because the ghosts are not on the payroll. I can't make them do anything.
Oh my gosh.
But if anybody feels any of those symptoms that I just mentioned, we're going to blame the heat and humidity first. Not everything is paranormal. Just so everybody has that income.
Or nervousness.
But I always want to get that person to safety
I'm like nervous,
and we will move
nauseous.
the whole group. Is that fair?
Yes.
Good deal. All right, so let's not talk about our own health because that's literally the scariest thing I'm going to tell you all night long. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that from any other tour, now you do. This building, Big John's, is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle broke off in the front of the building, hit somebody in the back of the head, and killed them. They say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. I said apparently and allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour, even though I just brought it up again. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting and learn more about your devices?
Yeah.
All right, let's go see what we can do. We're going to head this way.
Okay. I don't want to be in front. You go.
John's just chilling back here. Yeah, I can't tell. I can't tell if he's nervous. I can't tell if he's
probably.
John's terrible.
I'm with John on that one.
He goes, John's terrified.
I'm with John on that one.
I just
Yo,
crawl.
I blame Nicole on this. If anything happens, if anything happens, I'm going home.
I'm going to take a look at those letters once you stop.
Oh no. Oh no.
Can I go back to the car? Can we?
This is like windy.
My word list. Who has that?
Word list.
Holly, what do you got? Anything pop up on there?
And I have lion.
Lion? Okay. Letters. What do we got there?
We're Leos.
DWG SBGJ.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I got nothing out of that last either. So I'm a writer, and letters like make sense to me. So once I like get a series of letters, I can usually make anagrams out of them if they're actually there. So again, from what she just told me, there's not a whole lot of vowels to be able to work with. So again, I'll talk to you more about that in the next little
Can I go on with him?
All right, so this space we're not going to spend a lot of time in. This is where we keep some of the horses for your carriage rides, just so you guys know.
Yep.
This is part of the reason why we leave your open air spirit boxes on mute in this location, because there's no glass in those windows. They can hear us and they don't like the white noise. So please leave your spirit boxes on mute until we hit that next space. So why are we here? Let's talk about your devices. That's the reason why. But the history here is really simple, and I use that as an example. This is the same red barn that held horses that used to deliver milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's it. That's all I got. So let's talk about those spirit boxes. What's the first question when everybody gets a communication device like a Ouija board or a spirit box? What do you think they want to ask? Oh, come on. You guys have seen movies?
Is there anyone here?
Yeah.
What
Is there anyone here?
Is anybody here? Right? So, I'm going to get you guys mixed up all night long.
Jeans
Riley.
and shorts.
Let's say Riley hears the answer of no. Is somebody here? That means somebody's here. So we are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long.
Okay.
So we are actually going after very specific details for the purpose of actually gaining paranormal evidence. Now, with that said, I would normally teach people, like I do every night, when you're using a spirit box or communication device, ask questions at first that you already know the answer to, like, if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we are looking and listening for the color red. I say looking because Holly has a word list. She doesn't have to listen. But the rest of you are using basically radio sweeps, where the song lyrics and DJs were using those to convey messages back to us, and the word red might not be available to them to be able to answer us. Fire truck, blood, heart. Those three things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer if it was done in real time. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I'm good with that. However, there is like 10, 11 devices out here in your hands tonight. I'm going to need to be able to verify anything that close being to paranormal as long as there's at least two things going on either from the same device or among different devices. For example, let's say Holly's word list has the word art on it. That doesn't mean anything by itself. So, and then I'm going to use your exam because I'm getting the right name. So Riley here's the number 40 on hers. Put them together. Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you guys see where we're going to be putting clues together all night long? And I said this is more like an escape room.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's the whole point of like trying to piece this all together. So spirit boxes, you are listening for song lyrics, DJs, and commercials. A lot of people say, like, I'm asking them what they hear, and they say, I only hear radio. That's what you're listening for. Those disembodied voices on TV, a rarity. It's not that they don't occur, but I only capture about 4 or 5 of those per year. So again, not going to get those on a nightly basis. There is a lot of evidence that comes out of using your spirit boxes in this fashion. So let's talk about your cameras. Brian, we're going to start with yours. I guess with all 3 cameras. So with 3 cameras being out, we will be in spaces where people will be walking and cars will be parked. People do not like their cars to be filmed, nor do they like to be filmed themselves. We are not going to be vloggers out here. But with that said, I know, right? But Brian, your camera, because do we have it back up and recording again? Do you have an orange circle? So hit the red circle there. Let's get some recordings back going again. So with yours, you're going to keep it horizontal camera on the left, but you're going to try to do 2 things. I know I just asked you not to film anybody, but I do want you to try to keep one of us in view. We're the warmest thing out here. Much easier to find cold spots if we have that array of color in the screen. The other thing is, it's going to be difficult because you're the tallest person here, is to keep the sky out of view. The reason why is the blue dot that I told you guys about earlier is looking for surfaces. There's no surface on the sky, and therefore we'll default to the sky trying to find one. So again, 2 things. Are people in? Sky out. So, and you haven't said a word either besides your own name. We got to get you chit-chatting too. Maddie?
Yes.
Why am I getting your name right and not the other 2?
I don't, because I'm
know
special.
So, Maddie, nice slow movements out of yours.
Okay.
And at times I'll say, let's go ahead and cut those cameras off. So with yours, that's the button right here. It's all the way to the right of the top of the camera.
Okay.
So again, it's recording right now. We're going to let it run until the end of our next space.
Okay.
I think the only other person that I need to work with, get a pressure. John again? Another John? Yeah. Oh, we have 2 Johns?
2 Johns.
Damn it. You're going to be Little John.
Little John.
Maybe we should call you Little John.
Or John.
Either one.
John
your
Boy.
name too. I got John.
John Boy.
Amy. I think I remember that one. That's my co-host's name. All right,
Cool,
so
John.
are we ready to get away from football players and ponies and deep dive into history?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
Born ready.
we're gonna go on this way.
Have the word unicorn.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know if he wants me to say
She has the word unicorn.
unicorn.
I need to turn my phone on Do Not Disturb, so hold on, everybody.
I don't know when he wants me to start taking pictures.
Just take them whenever. You're the photographer.
I don't know when he wants me to.
He gave me this stuff that I'm supposed to do slow movements for, and we all know I'm not that person. Like literally,
Because
the
of, like-
beginning of it is me swaying back and forth, and it's like,
Well, we weren't.
oh, I just got my shoe. Am I? Can I film people? He didn't say anything. He's not listening to me. Oh, why are we going to the parking lot? Somebody get hit by a car?
Yep.
Somebody got hit by a car.
All right, it's a busy lot here tonight. All right, so any letters on the way here, Amy?
E.
Just E? Okay, that's actually a good one. Did anybody listen to their spirit boxes going?
I'm listening.
Okay. Jamie's like, I got
Get
this.
some tunes.
Got it. It's okay. It's about the lyrics, too.
Okay.
So, welcome to your first space. Yes, there's a lot of vehicles in here. It's Saturday night. So, we're going to have kind of minimal spaces to work with. Again, this is one of those spaces where we don't want to film people's cars. Kind of keep that in mind as we're going to spread out in here after I give you the history. EU. Make sure our thick humidity tonight's not going to affect the camera, and that way we can fix it pretty early. Maddie? I just want to make sure I had the name right.
Oh yeah, you do. You did.
That one's going to go to you. Don't be afraid of it. It's got a little bit of weight to it.
Yes, Maddie.
I should be a cameraman.
Oh yes.
Get all the angles. Paranoid activity?
Yeah, I mean,
Dude,
it's just,
we
we're,
watched.
we're the
we
cameras,
watched. We
'cause
watched
this is
that.
an
We
episode.
watched that, and this one part, Mom seriously screamed, and it was
Out loud.
crazy.
I gotta get the angles though.
Oh.
Spirit boxes. We're going to be using 6 different spirit boxes tonight, 5 different styles. So how do these guys actually work? First off, this is the white noise you guys would normally hear on your TV shows. So your host will kind of tell you what he thinks he heard in the middle of the white noise by putting it up on the middle of the screen. We're going to be doing that in real time. However, mine are slowed down. Like, the reason for that is because finding disembodied voices like what they show you on television is a rarity. So we have these slowed down on purpose to actually allow the radio chatter to come through. Song lyrics, DJs, commercials are going to come through this recording. Now, the person using this, it's a 50-50 shot that if they can make out what they hear from the radio, the song lyrics and the DJs and the commercials, that we get tied to the location of where we are, a person in history we're talking about, or even something going on with one of you. It happens all the time. So this one is going to record the entire session for us. Tomorrow morning, you guys are going to get this recording back, and I'm going to spot check this as well as I'm kind of going through all of your other media. Your camera popped out. So you're probably wondering why the screen went black. It's a good one. It's okay. Let me pop it back in for you. Okay, you don't want to handle it by the camera. So everything's here.
I'm scared.
This
We're going on just a classic history.
Oh no.
So,
That's what I thought too.
That's my mom.
I will be, because the person using this is going to have an earbud in, I'll be writing down whatever they hear in real time, so that way we can actually, I have a little notebook that I keep with me, so that way it goes into your notes tomorrow morning.
That looks cool.
Shall we?
Listen, I'm not listening to the thing back. I'm scared.
Did I get the name right? Okay, perfect. So, I'm trying to get you to talk, and this is where I definitely have to get you to talk. So, you're going to have an earbud in, so I don't want these back. Your ear wax is gross, so you get to keep these. So, I buy them in
How
bulk.
you know?
The only thing you need to worry about is
My ears are clean.
Listen.
earbuds, and then the volume button is a wheel right next to it. So
I'm
you
not-
make sure it's turned all the way down so you don't get
I'll
blasted.
give it to you. I'm scared to
That earbud
listen.
I know. I don't know what I'm looking for on this. Am I just looking for like something weird? I don't know. Look at all. Just.
Absolutely.
I do have 2 of these. However, the second one is not going to record. If I gave you guys 4 hours of white noise and radio chatter, somebody's going to hunt me down and kill me. So again, there's a lot going on there. So I'll be relying on the person using this one in real time, so I can write down whatever they hear, and we'll add it to your notes for tomorrow morning. Jamie, I think I'm going to go with you on this one.
Yes,
So again, earwax is nasty. Keep that.
Sure.
Your volume is a wheel at the top right where my finger is, and it is all the way turned down right now.
Hey, that's what you get for saying you didn't want it.
You just jinxed yourself.
So I'm
This
just...
spirit box, we don't actually have to. I'm going to answer a lot of questions about that at the next stop, just so you know, because that's usually the most
I got some
questioned.
questions.
Yes. This spirit box, we don't have to listen to. This is going to replace an obelisk, like what you guys would normally see on YouTube. So with this one, it's going to save all of these terms to a list with timestamps next to them. It kind of helps direct me on where to watch videos, where to listen to spirit box recordings, and the like. So with that said, I'm going to clear out the last tour that I did. They had 78 terms pop up.
Oh my.
Here's what I'm going to tell you about this app. It is a phone app. 80% of this is going to be garbage. It's the other 20% that's going to be very relevant to our space, the person, one of us. Same principle as all the other spirit boxes. So Holly, I think I'm going to go with you on this one, because you've been kind of like staring at some of this equipment going, oh my god, there's a lot of buttons. So this one is really easy. I don't want to see every word that pops up. I will come to you when I want to see the list, and we'll go through it together. Got a little bit of weight more than a cell phone, just so you know.
If I become a demon,
You'll be fine. You will be
Suing.
fine. If you bring one home, just bring it over. I'll name it Brad.
I don't know what.
Listen, I'm coming over tomorrow with Holy to the house.
Please say.
We're watching. We're listening to all 11 hours of this.
We need some like Miley when we get in the car.
Oh, yeah.
We need some.
Happy
If you're happy.
John,
Oh.
your spirit box is going to work completely different than all the others, because it's going to go through both FM and AM radio stations at the same time. Now, with that being said, it's going to attempt to take out the white noise that's coming out of Jamie's and Shelby's spirit box and only give you words. We're only going to make out about 10 to 12 terms out of this, but it is usually about 75% accurate to our space. So again, the only thing you need to worry about is how to hold it. Obviously, you'll be looking at the lights. Speakers down here. The mute button is on the right-hand side. We're going to be near horses and some other spaces right there. Let's go ahead and mute that. So right now it's on mute, and I'll let you know when it's going to be safe to unmute it. All right.
Like a GoPro. You get the complicated stuff.
John's
I got 100 buttons on
with
there.
the radio.
Yeah, there is a million buttons on there. This next one is kind of like a digital Ouija board.
Oh.
So, this is a
That
brand new
one over
device.
there.
I've had it less than a week. So this guy is like basically scanning through all of the letters of the alphabet with a cursor. Any type of EMF spike that will pop up will make the letters stop, and it will actually put the letters at the bottom of the screen.
I want to.
Put that one on. I'm so glad I got.
Brian's like, what the hell did we sign up for? Like,
I'm glad I got this.
this is called an envoy. So hopefully tonight. Now I haven't caught any evidence with this yet after using it for about a week. So the hope is that tonight
Tonight's gonna be the night.
actually get something out of this. Initials, words being spelled out, so forth and so on.
Brad's
So,
here.
I'm going to
with
cry.
that said,
Brad's here.
That's like a Ouija board kind of damn thing, right?
It's
Oh,
honestly,
dear God.
so here's
Better
the
say goodbye to it.
speculation. So maybe that was a poor use of words, because Ouija board has a very bad stigma to it.
It's a Ouija board.
Your spirit boxes are actually no different than this guy right here. It's the same
That
thing,
says
a
a lot
different
of-
way of communication.
It just has words.
So,
it just has
hopefully
letters.
we're going to get
But
this
what do they spell
spelling
out?
better.
I don't know.
So,
You're gonna figure
As
it out.
long as they're not AJA, I'm fine. Okay.
Hey,
got
you're
you.
fine.
Angel, obviously. Yeah.
No demons, right?
No, except Brad.
No, don't even joke.
Tonight is going to be a hard night to sleep, boy. I'm
I'm
telling
not
you.
sitting by myself.
I'm
Y'all got people. I'm just.
Me
Peace
and
out.
Hayden are literally outside and above the garage.
And y'all are together. I got the cat, and that's it.
You got the cat.
I don't like how that sounds.
this is an old school spirit box. This is probably
Oh, the
one of the
old
first
school
spirit
crap.
boxes that was ever designed. It works the exact same way as the other ones, only earbuds don't really work well with this, so I attached a ball speaker to it. So the only thing that you're going to have to worry about, I'm going to have to get the two of you crisscross. What's the names again?
I'm Hayden.
Hayden,
Riley.
Riley. Riley, this one's going to go to you.
Oh, yay.
So the only thing you need to worry about is where the volume is.
Okay.
So the
Where
volume
that?
is right here on the side of the ball speaker. You would
Okay.
roll it up in order and hold it there to be able to get some volume out of it, and then you
I
just
don't
roll
like
it
that
down.
Okay.
When obviously I'm talking to the whole group.
Okay.
I don't like that.
So I'm getting the vibe that we're going to be splitting up.
Oh,
Me
no.
too.
Like
I don't either. I don't either. But I'm also getting the vibe that they're making like it's me.
Let us
You guys have all seen these on TV, right?
Oh,
these are
yes.
like the must-have
taser.
when you're ghost hunting. However, I use this specific one to debunk a lot of things, only because the measurements aren't very high. So again, this only goes to 25. We'll talk more about that in a few stops from now when we're actually getting pretty high readings. So any kind of colors that pop up out of this, I like to use this to debunk any parking meters, any electrical wiring buildings, and things like that. So because it is such a simple job, that person is going to actually have two devices. Obviously, this is a digital camera. There is no flash on this camera. The person using it is going to take hundreds and hundreds of pictures for us.
Ooh.
So again, we never know what's actually going to pop up in those photographs, even though we're filming in two different formats. I also like to have photographs as well. So again, hundreds and hundreds of pictures. These both go to you. So,
Hayden.
Don't
Hayden.
The photographer.
Take the
Yes.
pictures, Hayden. Take the pictures.
Warm up your fingers. Warm up your little
you
fingers.
just carry the bag. No, I'm kidding. So,
You gotta find a little
I'll
weight.
take that. Can we switch?
Can we switch? I'll carry the
So,
backpack.
this one in particular
This is
is going to have an EMF meter in it as well, just like the K2 blinky light one that I just handed over. Anything above 2.5 on your big numbers, I want to know what's going on so we can either debunk things
I'm like really actually scared.
The bottom is ambient temperature. Brian finds something on his camera, you and I can prove it or debunk it with the ambient thermometer right here at the top. The last thing that it has built into it is a motion sensor. So anything actually gets close to that antenna that I just pulled out, it's going to go off. I'm not touching it.
I'm so scared.
I'm touching it now.
Demon squeaks.
What do you got?
What?
EWG?
No.
What did it
Is it too late to back out?
Did it just say something?
Can I go
We're going to
home?
talk more about that
it just say
antenna and that motion sensor at the
It
first
sounds
stop that we're actually going to
It
use.
sounds
For now, just get used to
Can I go home?
Oh,
Is it too late to bail?
No, nope. We gotta figure this out. We're just gonna go through it. If we sleep, if I
We
sleep,
should have taken shots.
So here's the question.
no, I'm gonna sleep with the lights on.
Are there any concerns now?
No, is something gonna follow
Thought
me
there was going
home?
to. Holly's still like, what did we do?
Is something gonna follow me
It's okay.
home?
Oh, I'm sweating.
I know I used the word, the term Ouija board, which has that bad stigma to it, which maybe totally
It's not even that. It's just all this fancy equipment.
Dude, if I hear someone's voice come through this, I don't know.
Letters, and that's what you do with an Ouija board. It takes you to letters.
So here's the
There's 3
difference.
letters already.